Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Last year, Gaia documented several humanoid mummies discovered in the Nazca region of Peru. DNA samples were extracted from the body, feet, and hands of the mummy named Maria. The DNA was tested to determine if it matched any known DNA. The results are in.
We are dealing with an unidentified organism.
In my career, I can't say I've actually seen anything like this.
Thanks for joining us here, Melissa.
Thanks for having me on Third Phase of the Moon.
Now, it's been about 2 years since the investigation by Gaia into the Nazca mummies, and 2 years ago, and the world was saying that this was some kind of perpetrated hoax. What's your thoughts? What's the new conclusion now?
Well, I would say a couple things. We just came out with a new documentary, and in this documentary that does kind of an overview of all the updates, but then kind of shows behind the scenes what happened. I would have to say that, to me, we did a lot of tests. We did carbon dating, genetic testing, whatever. But the high-res CT scans were unbelievable. And when you look at those, because when I think of genetic testing and I think, okay, well, there's so many questions that need to be answered, but if I look at those CT scans, you're looking at like muscle fiber and tissue and blood left on the bodies. You're also looking at bodies that according to all the professional people that we have shown it to, people that do this for a living, that are either radiologists or surgeons, that kind of thing, they can't find anything altered with the bones. So for me, that's a good place to start.
So you've done some extensive research, including DNA sequencing. Can you tell us, does the sequencing match the code of our regular DNA human code, or is this something altogether different?
I do not believe that they are 100% human. Again, when you do genetic testing, you can only ask one question with the sample, and then you ask another question, you run another sample through the machine. But so we were only able to ask a couple questions, and we wanted to know, what part of that DNA was human, and then if there was a part of it that had biological human-like genetic codes, then which ones would they match on the planet Earth, right? So in our genetic testing, those are the two questions we could ask given the samples that we had. And so it did come back that there was 25% of that sample did have human-like DNA, and of that 25%, none of that matched any modern human DNA. So that's pretty interesting, considering, if it's a hoax or it's made up, or even if it's like a relative in the last couple thousand years. That's very strange. However, we haven't been able to test for ancient DNA. And that's just another question down the genetic code line. That's what the university hopefully is going to do.
So Maria, along with the other mummies, are far different from any known human species known on the planet right now. Do you think they're indigenous to the planet, or do you think they could be possibly otherworldly?
I think Maria is very interesting, because if you look at her body, she's got these long fingers and toes. She's got an elongated skull, not too elongated, where you could see that it happened at birth, but just like slightly elongated skull. But the rest of her body is very human, right? My opinion would be that I think that it is that it could be a new species, if anything. I don't think it crash landed here in a spaceship. I know everybody wants me to say that, but I think if anything were to come out of it, I think we might find a new species. Now, why do we only find this one Maria, and then we have 5 other of these small little weird creatures? But who knows? Like, maybe they're in different parts of the world. Maybe they're buried in the ice. These are the types of things that get uncovered as our world starts to change. I mean, if you look at the finding of the Denisovan, they found a tooth or a piece of a finger, and that's it. But now they found a new species. So, I think that there's a way to say that it's possible that we might have that it might be a new species on the planet. And that is just as interesting as it being an alien, because that makes us understand our own human existence on this planet.
When people say the white powder resembles paper mache in its own way, can you explain to us what diatomaceous earth really means?
The white powder. So, of course, when this whole thing started, everybody thought, oh my God, it's definitely paper mache or it's plaster of Paris because of the white powder. And believe me, because I wasn't on the first trip, when I saw the pictures, because I went on all the other trips after the first trip, I was like, that thing looks fake because of the white powder. But we went back, I went for the first time, and there was definitely something real about that body. So I was like, I don't know if this is paper mache or whatever. But the powder, we took samples of the powder. We took samples of the powder from all over the body. The powder happens to be diatomaceous earth. Diatomaceous earth is something you can buy at Home Depot. However, this specific sample was tested in a lab that tested all the mineral makeup of that diatomaceous earth. You can't just buy like one diatomaceous earth across the whole planet. There's different kinds of diatomaceous earth given where it came from. So this specific sample had a mineral makeup that matched the mineral makeup of the mountainous area in Pulpa, which is where they found the bodies.
Melissa, based on the evidence of the HD topography scans, can you tell us, is this the game changer everybody's been waiting for? Is this really the end of the mystery, or has it just begun?
Well, I can tell you about my own research on this. This has not been put in any of our documentary or little updates. But I like, as a journalist, I'm not a person to say it's fake right off the bat, and I'm definitely not a person to jump to conclusions that it's an alien, because I think that then you're just discrediting going after the research. So I read all these things that people said that, you know, somebody melted skin together and put a bunch of animal bones together, and then other ones saying that this was like a 3D print job, plaster of Paris, all that kind of stuff. So this is what I did. I called a place that does plaster of Paris, and I sent them the x-rays, and I said, could you do this body for me? Could you do the exact same body? They said, no, that's a real body. I'm like, but you can't make that? And they're like, no. Which I didn't think they could, because any radiologist that looked at it was like, that's a real body. Okay, fine. So what about the theory that some crazy person took a bunch of animal and human bones and then melted some kind of skin over the top of it? So I called a taxidermist and I asked if this was possible, and he acted like I was Hannibal Lecter, because it's literally impossible to melt a bunch of different kinds of skin together and then somehow, like, it doesn't make like a paste, right? I think he thought I was crazy. And that the bones would be different. They would give a different, they wouldn't match like they do if you look at the high-res CT scans or the X-ray. So I think, like, for people not being able to touch it, for people not being able to analyze maybe all the data, like some of the scientists that got to spend hours looking at the CT scans or the X-rays or whatever, it just immediately looks like a piece of work. But if somebody made that, like, they're on the level of God, because it is just immaculate. We thought, you know, this is good. We got it to a university. Everything's great. You know, hopefully something will come out of it, but our hands are washed. However, with the discovery that the Ministry of Culture has gone to the university and tried to destroy the bodies, because the university wants to come out and reveal more evidence that they have, I think it just started. Honestly, I think that there's a lot more people that are getting more curious about it, because it just keeps getting more weird.
It's still curious to me why the major media hasn't picked up on this story. Is Gaia going to be in search of other mummy mysteries out there? Are they going to continue the Nazca mummy search for possible other remains? Are the higher powers trying to erase this evidence from history?
I would hope that Gaia could keep looking for bodies like this and keep searching, you know. I mean, I would love to just be Indiana Jane and go all over the world and do all this kind of stuff. That would be amazing. That'd be a dream job. I think that the world is evolving too fast for the powers of the world to keep everything under wraps. I think people are too quick to take a picture, upload it, and then it's going to have to come down to people wanting to know the truth, wanting to ask more questions. And the more people that do that, the more discoveries I think we're going to come out.
The DNA, according to the Nazca mummies that you provided to us, does this prove that the Nazca mummies are indigenous to Nazca?
The DNA testing does not link it to Nazca at all, because we weren't able to ask those questions. Like I said before in the beginning of this interview, that we could only ask a couple questions, and our answers were, yes, there is human-like DNA, that's 25%. 25% of that 25%, none of it matches a modern human DNA. So could this being be attached to some kind of ancient Peruvian culture? Maybe, but we don't have that data because we can only ask 2 questions. So that's definitely something the university is going to be taking on.
So where do we stand now, Melissa? Now that we have the evidence, can we expect maybe a government out there to basically take what we have, legitimize this, and tell everybody that we found some kind of new humanoid species discovered in Peru?
Where we stand in the investigation is that Gaia has delivered the bodies to the university. Like I said, just new information. The Ministry of Culture wants to destroy these bodies, but the university is holding on to them and continuing their study. So hopefully we get more answers. I would hope that that the people will want to see the study continue and hold strong. And then I think, these kinds of things, for a scientific community to come out and say that something is a new species or that it's real, it takes a very, very long time. It takes a long time for the institutions to get on board. It takes a long time for all the testing. So I don't think it's something that's going to happen overnight.
It's been a pleasure having you right here on Third Phase of Moon, Melissa, and the information has been quite exciting. Thanks again.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Melissa, and everybody out there. If you want to know more about the Nazca mummy mysteries, I invite you to take a look at the link below. It has the whole story. It's on Gaia. They've done their research, and I believe what they've discovered could change everything. Keep your eyes on the skies, everybody. We're not alone. We'll see you again next time.